Welcome back to the second day and second session of NorSec 2021. Today is the second session of the conference with the topic Jihadist Growth in the Region After the Arab Spring. Please send in questions during the conference on our Slido platform by using the hashtag NorSec 2021. We apologize for technical difficulties last night with Shaima Buhlal's movie. It will be rescreened tomorrow and uploaded on our website. Today we will start our session by screening a video by Najat Samouri. She is a human rights activist and vice president of the Tunisian Human Rights League. She is the author of many articles in connection with human rights, gender equality, and transnational justice. Together with the Tunisian National Dialogue Quartet, she received the 2015 Nobel Peace Prize for their decisive contribution to the building of a pluralistic democracy in Tunisia in the wake of the Jasmine Revolution of 2011.
For the invitation to take part in the 16th Annual Nordic Security Conference. I am Najat Samouri, a Tunisian human rights activist for 3 decades, and currently I am the vice president of the Tunisian Human Rights League, the LTDH in French, which is an association founded in 1976 and aimed at the observation and defense of human rights in Tunisia. She is the oldest human rights association in Africa and in the Arab world. All the activities were frozen under the dictatorship. It means 10 years ago. And the members were prosecuted by the regime. After the uprising of 2011, the transitional government lifted definitely the prohibition of all the activities. So 10 years ago, we cast off the heavy burden of fear that had been weighing on us for decades. Fear of the police, fear of the judiciary, even of our own neighbors who might be spying on us sometimes. Then, since the uprising, our organization moved from monitoring and exposing violations to actively participating in drafting bills and lobbying for policy reforms. We had actually to align ourselves with the post-2011 socio-political changes amidst an increasing awareness of human rights and a widening scope of demands at that time. But in 2013, when the outsiders praise Tunisia as the only success story in the Arab world, we were facing for the first time as an organization an extremely intense political crisis due to the political polarization between Islamists and secularists, because mainly of the assassination of 2 important or 2 prominent secular political figures. One of them was even a deputy. So, meaning it to choose between 2 possibilities. We had to choose between 2 possibilities. We had to answer to 2 questions. should we carry on fulfilling our role as a human rights organization, as a component of a social society, or playing our part as peacekeepers, or as peacemakers even, or moderators? And of course, we opted for the second option. It was in this context that the national dialogue was born and the quartet was formed. Actually, it was an initiative from the Tunisian General Labor Union, and then the federation was joined by the Tunisian Confederation of Industry, Trade and Handicrafts, and then the Lawyers Syndicate. These four organizations had, and still have, I think, a moral authority, and the quartet got to work. Our big strategy was a road map. First of all, calling for a parliament to pass the constitution, setting a date for elections, and then agree to a new government of technocrats to steer the country forward and thus avoid an imminent civil war between Islamists and secularists. Were we elected to lead the dialogue? Were we appointed by the legitimate institutions? No, actually we weren't. The only legitimacy that we had was that our organizations had a real support and confidence in Tunisian society, in the deep Tunisian societies, and also a real will to avoid maybe the Syrian or Libyan or Yemenite scenarios at that time. So when the quartet was awarded in 2015 the Nobel Peace Prize for these efforts, of course, and also for achieving a peaceful compromise between all the stakeholders. So since the award, invitations have been rolling in the conferences, seminars across the globe to speak about the Tunisian experience, to talk about, as they usually say, as the special Tunisian experience. Inside Tunisia, certainly we gained also more confidence from the public institutions. We have, as an organization, a special relationship with the state and the public institutions. But we also became more aware of the importance of human rights, as well as the need to continue the struggle for these human rights in a quite difficult democratic transition. We become a more important actor, which is able to mobilize public action, lobbies policies, and advocate for important legislation. We For example, we took part in working on laws. For example, the law of elimination of violence against women, which was adopted in 2017. We in fact demonstrated a strong commitment to reforms, and there is now a greater sense of ownership of the country's reform process, which has greatly increased also donor confidence. So in these 10 years, we were playing a central role in the process of establishing a vision for a new republic based on respect of human rights. In that sense, we became a watchdog that worked for democratizing the state institutions and the establishment of constitutional and legal mechanisms to prevent, first of all, authoritarianism and violations of social, of civil rights. So and we even work to ensure economic and social rights through different state policies and practices. Now, 10 years following the revolution, we can admit, or maybe we have to admit, that there is various gains on the human rights front, resulting from a radical change in the relationship between the state and our organization. However, there are also some failures that resulted from political, economic transformations and choices. In my point of view, the main failure is the failure of the state to push towards realistic policies to address the most complex problems of Tunisia. But does it mean also the failure of the revolution? No, I don't. I think that it's not. I don't think so. Why? First of all, it is because Tunisia, unlike so many revolutionary states, has a civil society to fall back on when democracy hit the buffers. Second, revolution is a process rather than a single event. Thank you for your attention, and I am sending you my best wishes for the conference.
Next up, we have Professor Morten Bøås, who will talk about the rise of jihadism after the Arab Spring. Morten is a research professor at the Norwegian Institute of International Affairs. He works on conflict, insurgencies, and state building in Africa and the Middle East, and has conducted extensive fieldwork on the African continent. Morten has led a high number of externally funded research projects. He is currently the principal investigator for the European Commission Horizon 2020 project PREVEX, Preventing Violent Extremism in the Balkans and the broader MENA region. Remember, please send in questions during the conference on our Slido platform using the hashtag NORSEC2021. Morten, the floor is yours.
And there I made my first mistake, forgetting to turn on the mic. It sort of shows that we are a little bit out of practice in this age where everything is done on digital platforms. So it's a long time since I've spoken into a mic and not only into the mic of my computer. So, but anyway, thanks for the introduction. The name is Morten Bøås, a research professor at NUPI, as was mentioned. Very happy to be here, and thanks to Yata for organizing this event and for putting together a panel which I feel very pleased to be on. So I look forward to this, and it's not so often that we have these panels anymore, apart from in a purely digital form. So that's much appreciated. Okay, I've been asked to talk for about roughly 20 minutes about the rise of jihadism after the Arab Spring. And I hope you can see this. I hope you can see the slides now. Is that the slides are on the screen, so people can see them? There it came. Okay, there's some delay here. Anyway, I've entitled this talk Jihadism After the Arab Spring, Local Drivers of Violent Extremism. And I will draw upon at least some of my experiences based on being a principal investigator of this large European Union funded project PREVEX, Preventing Violent Extremism in the Balkans and the wider MENA region. And we'll talk about the relationship between local issues and violent extremism and the ideologies of violent extremism as jihadism. Let me just briefly mention